Y'all, KingsIsle finally responded to what has been a crazy dramatic week, and we have to talk about it. So yesterday, in the official Wizard101 Discord, one of the community managers put out this in the important news section. There's a lot of words. We're going to be breaking down the words. The context of this is really, really important. If you guys didn't watch my previous video covering this, there's been a lot of negativity in the community. A lot of people have been making videos saying the game's worse. And there was a content creator roundtable where a bunch of people got together to vent their frustration. Now, in that type of climate, right, where everyone suddenly feels like, you know, Wiz is not being as receptive to like the player base's feedback, right? It's very important that they do give a statement. And I honestly do think they handled this statement really, really well. One thing that they acknowledge is that, you know, they're always open to feedback, both positive and negative. And I think that is a really, really good thing, right? You could look at criticism that seems like, you know, overly aggressive and be like, you know what, that's invalid. We're not going to listen to that anymore. I don't think that's the right way to make a game better. Like, even if someone's frustrated in the way they're criticizing the game, and it's like very negative, you should still be open to getting feedback from that person, right? They're still a player at the end of the day. Maybe I'm overanalyzing the situation, but to me, I do feel like a root cause of negative feedback is that the people giving the negative feedback don't actually feel like it's going anywhere. And because there's this perception that KingsIsle isn't actually taking in that negative feedback, people that dare to give positive feedback are also made enemies of. Obviously, enemies are a crazy word to use, but you know, you get the point that I'm trying to make, right? I think KingsIsle probably could do better about looking to be more receptive about negative feedback. But they did add a caveat that even though, you know, feedback can be positive or negative, it's never an excuse to attack other people over it in the community. And there has been quite a bit of that, especially if people disagree with what happened in the content creator roundtable, things that were said, how things were handled. It seems like there's been a hate bandwagon. The other part of the statement is extremely important too. They are listening, they are lurking. This is something that they're reassuring us of. And while I do think it's really awesome that they said, you know, they're actively looking for positive and negative feedback, and it also does seem like they're lurking and then, you know, making sure that they're getting the feedback from every source in the community they can. I do think one of the main purposes of the statement was on this idea of hate. And we gotta talk about this, bro. It's been bothering me all week. I feel like this community is pretty horrific sometimes when it comes to unwarranted hate being directed at individuals. There's a couple of people that have gotten a ton of flack because they have vocally disagreed and maybe have even been disrespectful about the content creator roundtable. And while it's one thing to say, yo, you're being disrespectful, it's another thing to dogpile on someone that's a content creator in this community. I think it's silly. And I'm gonna do something hazardous here. I'm gonna be honest, but I do feel like a roundtable that calls for boycotting a small game with a limited number of employees and saying that the devs don't care about the game, don't play the game, and aren't passionate about the game is pretty disrespectful. So from where I'm looking, it seems like if you're negative enough and you get enough people to agree with your negativity, other people have to be canceled for being rude to you, but you don't have to apologize for being rude yourself. And I'll go as far as to say is for most people that, you know, even know about this roundtable, the takeaway has not been what can Wiz do to be better. The takeaway has been which content creators are not for the community and how can we hate on them more. I think if you put 100 people that, you know, maybe watch this roundtable and have consumed the content, you know, at its fallout, and you ask them what has stuck out to them more, I think the majority of those 100 people would talk more about the negativity than anything that was offered as feedback in the roundtable. Now, I know that seems like a call out on everyone involved in the roundtable. It really isn't. I actually think it's awesome to get a bunch of people together to talk about anything that you're frustrated about. And while obviously I think in my previous video I kind of touched on this, I kind of disagreed with the formatting of it, how organized it felt, and obviously some points maybe I would have added some nuance to it. At the base of it, it's just dialogue. It's not a bad thing. And in saying that, you know, like the fallout of this has really been how to hate on which content creator, I'm not saying that people in the roundtable wanted that to happen. I'm not even saying they directly contributed to the hate that other people have gotten out of this. But I think tempering disagreement with, you know, a statement saying, you know, maybe let's not, you know, harass someone over this or direct so much hate towards this person that I disagree with. Small little statements like that could go a long way, and I don't really see any of that nowadays, man. Like in this community, if you disagree with someone, it's like, you know, like it's like everybody fire at this guy. If y'all disagree with that takeaway, I would love to hear y'all's thoughts in the comments. This is just the way I see it based on how I've seen some content creators getting dogpiled on for disagreeing, daring to disagree with this roundtable. Again, the way people disagree can be handled way, way better. I'm not saying that, you know, disrespect is okay. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is if you're gonna be pissed off at someone for being rude about your opinions, you better be a saint. You better not be saying a single rude thing in your life. So yes, the part of KingsIsle's statement where they're saying don't just assume the person that's disagreeing with you is malicious for doing it. Nobody has to be demonized for disagreeing with anybody else that's, you know, even if it's an unpopular opinion, no one needs to be demonized for disagreeing with you. Another weird fallout of this is that KI, as in KingsIsle, was doing, and if the problem is truly that they're too disrespectful, then again, the standards can't be doubled like that. And that was supposed to be this Friday on the KI live channel, but after this week, that has also been either rescheduled. I want to say rescheduled. So quite weirdly, this whole movement to have the devs listen more has postponed an opportunity for the devs to literally listen to the players. I do hope that roundtable does happen. I hope they don't literally just cancel it off of it. I'm not a part of this. I wasn't involved, but I do like that type of content because it's really awesome to see players talk directly to devs. I think that can only help the game. I think after this week, one thing seems really, really clear to me. I think that KI is very, very aware that they have a lot of problems to solve, and I think the players are very clear in saying which problems they want them to solve. And I think the thing is, very, very often when there is a change that needs to happen, and even when KI knows that this change needs to happen, it just takes them so long to do it. And I don't see this problem getting any better, by the way. I feel like a lot of the reasons why people, you know, felt like the game was getting worse, you know, when all of this started was because standard mode for the Nightmare didn't actually feel approachable. I'm not saying every critique has been about the Nightmare, but I do feel like that was like an inflection point of some sort. Maybe you disagree, let me know. And yet they did end up nerfing it just a little bit later after all this, after this wave of criticism, right? I feel like this is already planned, but it just was a lot later than it should have been. And I think that's going to be KingsIsle's major struggle, y'all. I feel like attention spans are getting way shorter. People's patience is wearing a lot thinner. There's a lot more games to play these days. That's an environment that I think Wiz needs to adapt to. Otherwise, waves of criticism like this are gonna be pretty normal, and people are gonna get affected negatively by it, whether we like it or not. All in all, y'all, I think after this week, I think the big takeaway is that KI really probably could be better at taking in negative feedback so that this type of toxicity doesn't just happen again. But I also think the community needs to be way, way better at handling people that disagree. I think the good news, at least, is that, you know, every type of frustration from every source is on KI's radar, probably at some level. Hopefully we can all continue to do the work of being vigilant and working together to make the game better. That's, I hope, the outcome that comes out of this. Let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. You know, obviously, kind of not pretty. It's been a weird week. I'm sure a lot of people have their opinions on this. You know, maybe you agree with some things, you disagree with other things in KI's statement itself. Let me know. As always, drop a like if you enjoyed, leave a sub if you're new, and if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. Stay awesome. See y'all soon. And yeah.